Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans everywhere, we are live. Welcome to the Sports Behavior Podcast. I'm your host, of course, OG the Beast, here with me, as always, Chilltown 32. What's popping, huh?
Ain't nothing, man. We got basketball going on. The top 75 just came out. Got some people, their feathers is ruffled, man. It's looking wild out here right now.
It's a lot of cats that's upset. It's a lot of things that's going on in the NBA lately. We got games cracking tonight. You know, it's Friday night is always a showdown. Everybody named Mama be playing on Friday night for the NBA. I'm just glad the league is back in motion. Packed show today. We got a lot to discuss. We got, like you say, the top 75 greatest players. We're going to talk about Kobe Bryant versus Tim Duncan, which has been a hot debate as of late. And, of course, we're going to lead the show with this dude, the hottest basketball player on the planet right now, and that's Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry has these guys 2-0 right now. Two impressive victories. Almost coughed the game up against L.A. last night. They beat the Lakers on opening night, and then they come back and beat the other L.A. team traveling right around the corner and had to go nowhere. They look the same. This team is shooting the cover off the ball, including their leader. Steph Curry goes 9 for 9 in the first, 25 points, perfect game. I'm thinking the dude about to go 60. I'm like, put him in the game, coach. Let him roll. Don't take him out. I'm thinking the man was about to go for 60, 70, something crazy. Even the announcer was like, hey, this feels special tonight. He was not missing. I mean, he's doing every emote possible. This man is shooting, turning around before he completes the shot. Like, he was just in his bag last night. I think he ended the game with, 47. What did he end the game with? 45. He ended the game with, 45. Still a great game from Stephen Curry. Jordan Poole is looking nasty. But I want to ask you this, Unc. Watching the way that Steph Curry plays the game, like how this guy just shoots the cover off the ball, it seems like he's shooting shots that would have got you benched when I was in high school. Does Stephen Curry have the most brightest lit green light you've ever seen in NBA history?
Well, I can't say that he doesn't because I ain't never seen nobody like that. I can't compare him to nobody. That's first of all. Number two, his game is tailored for today's game. I've never seen anybody of all the scorers that I've ever seen in my life, never seen anybody with that flamer off the bounce.
Yeah, off the bounce. Way to specify that.
I never seen anybody with that kind of flamer off the bounce. There's no defense for that whatsoever. When you got a guy who can shoot accurately from 25 feet, that's one thing. When you got a guy who can shoot like that from 25, 30 feet off the bounce, you got to eat it. Because there's really the only thing that you could possibly do with a guy like him is keep the ball away from him. That's the only thing you can do. Only except he moves so much within the offense, which that's why I'm loving the fact that they got Steve Kerr there, because Steve Kerr redesigned that offense where he didn't make Steph Curry a traditional point guard. He actually had that action going where you got people moving, you got the ball moving. When you got people moving and you got the ball moving, that means the defense is off balance, right? But the one thing that we didn't talk about with Steph Curry, which is really interesting, Beast, so he averaging a triple-double.
How many assists he had last night?
10. And he had 10 boards last night, too.
Word?
For the second time.
I know he had a triple-double in the first game. I wasn't aware of that.
Yes,
I know he had 11 rebounds.
Absolutely. So we're talking about a dude who's not expanding his game, because Steph could always do this sort of stuff, but I think he's doing this to show us, I have this in my game.
He talked about it on TNT after the game with Shaq and the boys. I didn't know he had 10 assists, though.
Absolutely. And I got that Warriors team. I had them 5th in the West. When they get Clay back, because Jordan Poole is basically shoring up for what Clay is not doing. So when they get Clay back, I still think that they're going to be a top 5 team in the West. That bench, I mean, they played the Clippers bench to a tie last night, which was really good. People don't give Draymond nearly as much credit as they should, because he's an anchor for everything that they do, not just offensively, defensively too. He do everything. He passes the ball. He rebounds the basketball. He's sticking his nose in there, taking charges. He's directing traffic. He's huge for what they do. But Steph is one of those guys who, I'm watching this last night, and man, Beast, once he got going, after I saw the third one go in, I'm thinking to myself,
look out.
You dudes might be in trouble tonight, because that basket looked like it's the size of the ocean. Yeah. And he's standing on the sand. So you dudes better watch out. I'm trying to tell you something. If they could get more production out of Wiggins, because Wiggins is 18 a game just walking into the gym. If they could get a little bit more out of him, once they get Clay back, once they get Wiseman back healthy, the Warriors are going to be something to deal with in the Western Conference. Because I think Steph is over being irrelevant. I think he over that. Like, y'all must have forgot about
right.
us, huh? Did y'all forget that we was nice? Did y'all forget that, it was a parade out here a couple of years ago, and we was the class of the Western Conference? So I think this Steph is over that. He like, hold on, man, we ain't over yet.
And
we are not over
yet.
They
asked Steph Curry, was he making a push for the MVP this season because of the recent disrespect that he's garnered? Of course, missing the playoffs and whatnot. And his response was very eloquent. He was just basically like, if I'm not stepping out here every night playing at an MVP level, then take me off the court. So that's not the end-all, be-all goal. But that's the goal every single time I step on the court. And I like that answer because not only is he saying I'm taking that responsibility as the leader, as the guy of this franchise, but he's saying I'm taking that responsibility to put the league on notice as well, that we ain't going nowhere no matter what you see on paper. And I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, we're going to be around.
I slighted these boys. I didn't think, 8th seed, 7th seed at best. I didn't know what until Clay got back. I didn't know what version of Draymond we would get, but Draymond looks good. He's moving around great defensively. He's handling the ball. He's finding guys open. I like what Draymond is bringing still at this age. He still got something left in the tank. I'm interested to see what Klay Thompson has when he finally gets himself together and ready to go. But this Golden State team, I would not be surprised if they led the entire league in three-point percentage and makes. I would definitely not be surprised. The way they shoot the ball is everybody can shoot the ball on this squad. Like there's no lackluster play when it comes to the three-point line with this team, and that's how they beating you. It's so demoralizing that they get you out of your own element because now you feel like you got to try to jock with position with these guys when it comes to the three-point ball. So it's like I'm like, man, oh man, look out. Because when you got Curry shooting the cup, how the hell they beat L.A.? LeBron and AD both scored 30-plus, 11 rebounds. And they still managed to pull it out with Steph Curry shooting like 5 for 30 from the field. That's letting me know that these others, Wiggins is stepping up, Poole is stepping up, Draymond is stepping up. These others is giving you quality production. They beating the bench. And I think that may be the deciding figure in the game when you messing with the Golden State Warriors is can you outscore their bench?
Yeah, because the first game that they played against the Lakers, we talking about their bench scored 55
That's
points.
what I'm saying.
They got 55 points from their bench last night, and then it looks to me like it's going to be something different every night. So last night, their bench played the Clippers bench to a tie, but that wasn't the difference in the ball game. The difference in the ball game was they cleaned glass. They out-rebounded the Clippers, and on top of that, they could have held on to the basketball a little bit better. What the difference was them that game should have been way worse than what it was. They turned the ball over 21 times. Had they held on to the basketball, then that might be a problem later on. But as of right now, it's not because Steph is doing what he's doing, and offensively, that team's looking really good. But they got to take better care of the basketball. Other than that, they look really sharp.
I'm surprised at what I see. It is early. Injuries can't happen. I wish that on nobody, but this is the NBA, and reality is reality. But moving on to a more uninteresting game, which was Miami. They made complete light work of Giannis Antetokounmpo and his Milwaukee Bucks after Giannis and them boys coming off an impressive win opening night. Miami, man. And I had this team as a team to look the hell out for. You did say that. The new acquisition of Kyle Lowry. I like this team defensively. Bam Adebayo, Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Same thing with Jimmy Butler. He's revamped. His play style won't allow him to age. I think Jimmy Butler's going to age gracefully with his play style. You add a Kyle Lowry who's also aging pretty gracefully with his play style, even though he didn't do much last night. They held Giannis in check defensively. I think Giannis had like 15 points, 10 rebounds. Pedestrian game for the MVP. And they scored 120, 137 points against these boys. They beat them by like 30. Like, is this a game you just balled up, look at the stat sheet, you ball it up and throw it away and move on and say this ain't us? Or do you look at this and dig deeper into this? Like, Do we got some here?
Well,
Are there problems?
Well, you got to remember too, Beast, who coming to town. Okay, the defending NBA champs is coming to town, and not only are the defending NBA champs coming to town, the team who they served on opening night, who's picked to win the NBA championship, they just dealt with them. So now we got these dudes in our building tonight on opening night, in our building, and they coming in here thinking that they're gonna serve us. So we got to turn the tables on that really quick. So in my experience, one of two things has happened on opening night, especially with the champs. Either you're going to blow somebody out or you're getting blown out because you got the ring ceremony. Everybody was so high. And I was really high on this matchup coming up because I got the Miami Heat. I think they're going to be a top 3 defensive team this season with Kyle Lowry, Jimmy Butler. And don't forget, Victor Oladipo didn't play last night. So we get Victor Oladipo back into the fold. They look like they're going to be hell to deal with defensively. With Bam, Giannis got in foul trouble early, so he didn't play.
Yeah, he only played like 25 minutes.
Yeah, he didn't play half the first quarter. But when I look at this group, we're talking about Giannis and Middleton combined. They went 8 for 25. They didn't really. That's what I'm saying.
Like, Giannis, so his Giannis's stats, because he didn't play. I didn't see Giannis go for what he went for in the game in the first quarter. So.
Right.
You know,
absolutely. So I'm watching this game. I turned it off, Beast, after the third. They were down by 40 by almost the end of the third quarter, and I was out. I took this game
and tapped out
because I was really excited about this game because I wanted to see how they responded after that first night because I knew this was going to be a big test.
I was at the gym when this game was going on, so I'm trying to watch and be at the gym, and I'm like, man, my focus is off. I'm not even finna really. Like they getting treated right now, so I'm like, damn. That somebody in the comments mentioned Tyler Hero being the X factor. Man, had like what Tyler Hero had almost 40. You know. Well, not even that. I'm looking at the group, and they got outplayed in every aspect. Beast. Their bench, they got outplayed by their bench. Outscored the Milwaukee Bucks starters. All right, 73 to 53, about 20. That's their bench alone. All right, they got their ass kicked on the backboard. They won the turnover battle. They won the long ball battle. They won every battle last night in that game from start to finish. Yeah, they won the Tyler Hero battle. They said he had. I meant to say 30, not 40. He had 27. You know, Tyler Hero, and he filled the stat sheet up too, if I don't remember. But Tyler Hero, you know, with all the hoopla coming into him, you know, coming from him. Before the season jumped off, him saying he needed to be in the conversation with Luka Doncic and Trae Young and all them boys. And, you know, the whole NBA community was laughing and kiki-keying at him. But I guess it's time to look at Tyler Hero. If he can keep up this type of production, I know he came off the bench. But if he can come off the bench giving you 27, you know, he can come off the bench averaging 20 points a night. My goodness. He's a lock for 6th man of the year. You know what I'm saying? He's a lock for 6th man of the year. I don't see it, but we'll see. But I will tell you this though. When I look at Tyler Hero looks like a guy who from last year he had a sophomore. What is it called? The sophomore slump. Jinx. Yeah, sophomore slump. Yeah, sophomore slump. Absolutely, he had a sophomore slump, and he has something to prove this year. That my rookie season was not an anomaly, yo. I'm really nice, and I'm one of the better young players in the game, and I want to prove that. And he's going to get the opportunity to prove that with the Heat because they involve him in the offense, especially on that second unit. He's absolutely a Jordan Clarkson type of player. Facts. Where he got the green light. He got the green light. When he comes in the game, we already know what it is. It's not like it's a situation where we asking them to lock up. We asking them to do a whole bunch of different things. He's buckets and be solid on defense. That's who Tyler Hero is. And I think Tyler Hero is sort of an underrated defender. He exhibits that effort towards the defensive side of the ball. He's not exactly like a Jordan Clarkson who kind of just lackluster defensively, and I'm out here trying to get buckets. The kid Melly say if that guy claims that, that's huge for Miami. I 100% agree. Right. If he can be, you know, half of what he was last night, look out. Especially Miami, we already baffled by their starting five. They missing key and important ingredients to the spaghetti. You know, and now you take that spaghetti, you put a little cheese on top of it, and you put it in the oven, and that's Tyler Hero. Oh my God! Absolutely. Let me get another plate. I'm telling you, like I got to get another plate of that. But no doubt. You are on the opposite side of something that I'm on the opposite side of something, and here on this podcast, we like to address the elephant in the room, right? Spicy take of the day. Spicy take of the day. We like spicy. I like spicy. You know I like spicy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You was on TikTok live, and they was giving it to you pretty rough about the Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan situation. You not alone in this, but I just feel like it needs to be discussed amongst two guys that know what the hell they talking about, right? And you think Tim Duncan is not only better than Kobe, but higher than Kobe on the top 10 list, on the hierarchy of greatest players of all time. So I want you to explain to me why that is. I need to know your legit understanding for why you believe Tim Duncan is better than Kobe.
Well, it's not so much that I think he's better than him. I think that the issue that I'm having is that it's a wash. That I have to listen to people talk to me that Kobe Bryant is better than Tim Duncan, and it ain't even a question. When I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a second, man. We talking about a dude who from 1998 to 2008, we talking about a 10-year stretch where he finished in the top 10 9 times in Defensive Player of the Year, including 6 times finishing in the top 5. We talking about a dude in a 10-year span. He finished 4 times in 5 years, 1 or 2 in league MVP votes. All right, we talking about a dude who, and I know he's vanilla. I know he's vanilla. Tim Duncan is the epitome of whatever works. That's what we're going to do. We're not switching up nothing. We're not doing nothing extra crispy. If the jump hook is working tonight, guess what I'm doing all night? If the 14-foot bank shot is working, that's all I'm doing all night. He's exceptional in transition on defense. He was exceptional as a rebounder. He was incredible in everything. And the problem that I'm having with people that I talk to is that it was a wash. So I have to ask the question, when I had this argument a little while ago, if in today's game in 2021, because you had mentioned this to me a while ago, in today's game in 2021, the league MVP who leads the playoffs in points, rebounds, and blocks wins the NBA championship and wins the NBA finals. How are we talking about him today? Who is he?
One of the best players in the league.
Is he one of the best players in the league, or is he the best player in the game?
It depends on what he did in the regular season.
Okay, so he was the league MVP.
Okay, so he was the league MVP.
He was the league MVP.
Okay.
He was in the playoffs. He led the playoffs in points, rebounds, and blocks. Team won the NBA championship, and he won the Finals MVP. Where we got him at?
He's the best player in the world.
That's Tim Duncan in 2002, 2003. And that was the year after he had won the league MVP, the year before that. All right? So we talking about a dude, when I hear people tell me, right? When I hear people tell me, Kobe Bryant went to the finals 7 times in a decade. Okay, he was on a dominant team. He wasn't on a good team. He wasn't on a great team. Kobe Bryant was on an all-time great team. When I think about that 2000-2001 NBA champion Los Angeles Lakers team, I think they was better than the 86-87 Lakers, in my opinion. They were on a freight train. You know what they was, Beast? You ever see a moving van on the top of a hill and the refrigerator fall out and the refrigerator rolling down the hill? There's nothing that you can do about that refrigerator. You're going to have to get out the way because it's going to run you over. That's who the Los Angeles Lakers were in the 2000-2001 season. We're talking about a team that went undefeated, not only in the Western Conference, they went undefeated on the road in the entire playoffs. These how many teams did that before they did it? These how many teams have done that since they did it? All right? Now, we got a dude in Tim Duncan who that series was a wash. He didn't do anything. None of them dudes did. They got swept in the Western Conference Finals. They were swept out of the playoffs. They swept everybody out the playoffs. Now, we have, and I stand by this, and I get a lot of flack for this, but I stand by this. We have what's called caught in errors. And I got myself in some trouble with a couple of buddies because we have screaming matches about this. Doc got caught in the Magic and Bird era. Karl Malone, John Stockton, Clyde Drexler, Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, Magic. They all got caught. Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing. They all got caught in the Jordan era. Fast forward to 2000. Tim Duncan was about to get caught in the Kobe and Shaq era. Had them two dudes stayed together. We're talking about a team, they bounced them 3 times in 4 years.
Yeah.
Now, Tim Duncan wasn't bad.
If I don't recall, the Lakers beat the Spurs more times than the Spurs beat the Lakers.
They 4-2 against them in the playoffs
Right.
for that decade. But up until 2002, 2003, they had beaten them 3 times. I'm sorry, 2003, 2004. From 2000 to 2004, the Lakers had beaten them 3 times in 4 years. If this is going on today, because what I like to do is I like to correlate things in today's game. Beast, if we got a team that has not, let's say Brooklyn, for example. Brooklyn has bounced Philadelphia 3 times in the last 4 years. This crew stay together?
Which crew? Philly?
Brooklyn has won the NBA championship 3 years in a row.
Okay.
And 3 of the last 4 years, they have bounced Philadelphia out the playoffs. Can Philly stay together?
The same team?
The same group.
I mean, the way Philly is constructed right now, I don't see why they can't, because they not a team that was unorganically built. Now, if you're talking about something like a Miami Heat team, Bron and Wade, if Bron and Wade not only loses to Dallas, but the next year they come back and they lose to OKC, and the next year they come back and lose to the Spurs. Now, if you do it like that, it's getting blown up by probably the second time they lose it. They might attempt a third try, but I can't see that considering how hard D Wade fell off by that third time around.
Right.
I see,
So,
but if it's one squad like that wasn't unorganically built, like Philly did it through the draft, so ain't no splitting them up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. I can appreciate that. So with that being said, I'm looking at this group, and had Kobe and Shaq stayed together, I think we're talking about Tim Duncan completely different today than we would be had they not. Had those dudes stayed together, we'd be talking about him completely different.
In a negative light?
We wouldn't be talking about him the way we're talking about him now.
True.
Had them dudes stayed together, because we're talking about a group that 4 trips to the finals in 5 years. Not sure how your math works, Beast. That's 8 trips in 10 years, winning 6. We ain't talking about Tim Duncan like that if that goes on. Had that happened, we ain't talking about nobody in that decade, to be quite honest with you, if that happened like that. So Tim Duncan, to my point, almost got caught in the Shaq and Kobe era, and he benefited tremendously from them 2 dudes not staying together.
So
absolutely.
So inevitably, your take is you have Tim Duncan higher than Kobe. So you think Tim Duncan is a better basketball player and had a better career than Kobe Bryant, right?
I do.
And on a scale,
and it's not by much.
Okay, that was my next question. On a scale from 1 to 10, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the furthest, 1 being the closest. So you say if Kobe is a 1, where's Tim Duncan?
2.5.
Okay, so not that bad.
It's not Kobe's a 1 and Tim Duncan's a 7. Whoa.
Here's why I think Tim Duncan is the 1 and Kobe is the 2.5, because I do think it's close. Kobe Bryant has been consistent throughout his entire career from the moment he stepped on the court as a starter in this league. I'm not going to say moment, because he wasn't a starter when he first came in, averaging 7 points a night. Kobe is the only player in NBA history to start an all-star game but be a backup on his own team, right?
Can you believe that? Can you believe that he wasn't even starting on his own team? He started in an all-star game in 98, not even starting on his own team. That's incredible.
That's when you knew this kid was about to be special. And then a lot of people like to attribute Kobe's success to Shaq. They are intertwined with each other, so I agree. They should be together. You should mention Shaq. When you mention Shaq, you mention Kobe. They forever will be intertwined with each other. They're teammates. But a lot of people like to look at that and say, well, Kobe played with Shaq, so that's a disappointment. That should be a knock on his resume. I completely disagree. Anybody that plays with another top 10 player all time, in my opinion, and still manages to pull off what Kobe pulled off, we should not only take our hats to, but we should do some further digging on how many other guys throughout the history of the game had to face this, I don't want to say dilemma, because they got championships out of the deal, but had to face a situation like this. Scottie sat here and complained and still complains to this day because he felt like Jordan was holding him back. He felt like he was better than 18 and 7 a night, right? But Kobe said, I'm not going to sit up here and complain about it. I'm going to show you, Marv. I'm going to show you. Because while Shaq is here, they became the only duo. in NBA history to both average over 28 points per game on the same squad. The only one. It's never happened. You know how many times I keep saying never happened when it comes to Kobe? A lot. Because as an entire career, even after he and Shaq split, Shaq goes to Miami, Kobe stays in LA. He goes through his trials and tribulations in the middle of the 2000s, right? Missing the playoffs, average, but during the midst of that, he's proven to the world why he's next up to be the best player in the world, right? And Kobe's what sticks out to me is the fact that Tim Duncan gets as much praise as he does, deservingly so, but he is boring. He is extremely vanilla. And Tim Duncan never had that outside of what you saying, that dominant reign to where you look at him and you say, that guy is the best player in the NBA. Like how Steph is just out here raining threes and he's dropping 50 on your head and can't nobody do nothing about it. And it's like, man, I want to say it's so Giannis Antetokounmpo, back-to-back league MVPs, out here putting up numbers that's never been put up. Looking like a baby Shaq, and you say, man, Kevin Durant last year, LeBron James in 2013, he's pummeling everybody, move out of the way. And it's like you just want to so bad say, that's the best player in the world. I never felt like that about Tim Duncan, and I watched his entire career.
You in the minority, Beast. You absolutely in the minority.
I never looked at him and said, that's the best player in the world. Not while Shaq is playing. Not what, like you say, he got caught in that era. Not while Shaq is playing. Not while Kobe's playing. Yeah. Not while I'm watching AI. I never looked at Timmy and said, that's the best player in the world. Yes, he did win titles. And yes, he did have great seasons. But we talking about a guy, to steal your quote, we talking about a guy that the back end of his career was a complete coast. The back end of his career was a complete coast. Let me tell you guys something. What would you consider to be an NBA player's prime? I know I would consider an NBA player to be in his prime, 27, 28, 29, 30, right? I would consider that. So let's use the 9th season. I like that magic number. I think you know where I'm going with this because I've been here before.
I do know where you're going.
I've been here before. 9th season, right? The top 10 players of all time, I definitely have Duncan in my top 10. The man is a 12-time defensive, not first team, but all NBA defensive team, 12 times.
Try that again. Try again.
First team?
Let's put some more. Not first team, 12. Let's put some more on that. Keep going. Don't stop at 12. Keep going.
What?
Keep going. Don't stop at 12. Keep going.
He got more than 12? He got 13?
Keep going.
13?
Keep
14?
going. Keep going. Keep going. Now we talking.
He got 15
now
of
we
them?
Talking. Now we
so it's
talking
12
now.
first team.
Come on now. No, it's 8 first.
8 first team. Jordan got the most with 9.
That's correct.
Okay. Kobe has the most with 9. Kobe and Jordan have the same amount.
That's correct.
So they got the most all time, but Duncan has the most total, right? All NBA period. So with that being said, right, hellacious defender, we understand the numbers and what he did productively offensively. But if we look at totality, what are we saying about a guy who averaged 18 and 11 in the middle of his prime, his 9th season? 9th season, Tim Duncan averaged 18 points and 11 rebounds. That team went to the playoffs and lost in the second round that year to the Dallas Mavericks, right? The leader of your team averages 18 and 11. Even when Dwight Howard was leading his squad, he wasn't averaging pedestrian-ass numbers like that. In his 9th season, hold on, top 10 players of all time, Tim Duncan is definitely on that list. I would be blasphemous not to put him on there because he's one of the greatest players to ever walk this planet. Correct. But let's go down and look at what the top 10 players of all time, because that's the standard that I base Tim Duncan at, because I have Kobe ahead of him on that. My top 10 players of all time is Jordan, LeBron, Kareem, Shaq, Kobe, Magic, Bird, Duncan, Hakeem, and Wilt. Those are my top 10 players of all time. Jordan in his 9th season was giving you 32, 7, and 5. LeBron in his 9th season was giving you 27, 8, and 6. Kareem in his 9th season was giving you 25 and 13. Shaq was giving you 28 and 12. Kobe was giving you 27, 6, and 6.
Mm-hmm.
That's dominance.
In his ninth season.
All of these guys, this is their ninth season. This is
right.
dominance. Mm-hmm. Magic was giving you 19 and 11, which is still better.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference is Duncan played a whole decade more. Magic only played 3 more seasons after that. So he was done.
Right.
Bird, 29, 9, and 6 in his ninth season.
He went 50, 40, 90 that year too, by the way.
Yep. Duncan's 18 and 11, played a whole extra decade. Hakeem Olajuwon gave you 26 and 13.
Right.
Some light. And, of course, Wilt Chamberlain, 33 and 25. Those are all – you see a resemblance here. The ninth season for the top 10 players of all time were all dominant. It's not a coincidence because that's your prime. That's when you showcasing, I'm that dude.
Right.
But Tim Duncan's pedestrian 11 rebounds and 18 points, that's very pedestrian.
Pedestrian. Because we talking about a dude who you looking strictly at buckets. And this San Antonio, when David Robinson left, now all of a sudden the offense is different. The offense is completely different. Tony Parker is more involved in the offense. Ginobili is more involved in the offense. Steven Jackson is more involved in the offense. Boris Diaw is more involved in the offense. They got a different offense now that's more fast-paced than what it was, where it was just dump the ball into Timmy and just slow the game down. They wasn't doing that as much, but it was still effective because we're talking about in year 9, if I'm not mistaken, that was the year after they won the NBA championship. Is that correct?
05,
yes, it is.
05, 06 was year 9. So 04, 05, I believe that was.
The year they won the NBA championship. He went 20. Yep, they won the NBA championship. He went 20 and 14 in that finals. Not only did he go 20 and 14 in that finals, who did they beat? They beat the same team that served, that served that Kobe Bryant Laker team in 5 games, mopped the floor with them dudes. That San Antonio team handled them dudes in 7 games. Duncan went 20 and 14 against them, won the finals MVP. Because that's the standard that I've heard constantly about Tim Duncan or Kobe Bryant in terms of dominating the decade. I beat the same team. Not only did I beat the same team that mopped y'all, I was the best player in the series. Since we're on the subject of being the best player, I was that dude from the door. Let's make sure that we remember 1997-98 was my rook season. First team All-NBA. That's me right here. First team All-NBA. From there.
4 years at Wake Forest. You can't compare that.
Wait a minute. You had 4 years in the NBA?
No.
Okay, so your 4th year in the NBA, how'd that go?
Kobe?
1999-2000. How was your 4th year in the season?
By Kobe's 4th year, he was averaging 26.
No, he wasn't. He was 22 a game. No, he was not. Not only was he not that, they had won the NBA championship, and on top of them winning the NBA championship, because his 4th season was the 1999-2000 season. They won the NBA championship. He was 22 a game, and he did work. No question about that. So I can't mask 4 years in the NBA with 4 years.
He was 22, 6, and 5.
22 a game, absolutely, no question
about that. In a year in which Shaq went crazy.
Absolutely, he did. No question about that. Beast, my issue.
So what's better? Let me ask you this: what's better, 22, 6, and 5, in a year where you had another guy averaging 30, or 18 and 11? Where nobody else was a threat to score on your team.
Well, that's not true that nobody else was.
Tony Parker was 18 a night with him.
Right, and don't leave out Ginobili.
Yeah, but Ginobili was like 14 a night.
He was definitely more than that. But even still, they had a well-balanced unit, no doubt about that. And Tim Duncan, the point is, Tim Duncan, I was that dude from the door.
In your 9th season, though, why you only averaging 18? You can't give me 25 a night in your 9th season?
That's not my game. That's not who I averaged 25 a game twice.
Tim Duncan got 26,000 points. How's that not his game?
Because I'm not that guy who I'm 26, 27. I'm not that dude. And since you're on the subject of being on the back end, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that year that they did lose to the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals in year 17. I mean, Tim Duncan was 19 and 11 that year. which was in year 17, and he was first team All NBA. I think Kobe Bryant in year 17, he was right around. He was getting washed. He wasn't washed yet.
No, Kobe didn't fall off until he tore his Achilles.
That was around year 16.
Kobe was never washed. He didn't fall off until his body gave out.
Mm-hmm. Which makes me wash.
No,
that's the same thing.
We ain't gonna use that word wash. I don't like wash. Look, somebody that's washed is just got Gabricio. Kobe never got garbage. He popped his Achilles, and that was his deathbed essentially. He tried after that, but it's just his body failed him. See, that's the difference. He was even able to sustain greatness late into his 30s, man, at a high level. We talking about 17th season. Duncan was falling apart by his 11th season.
No, he wasn't
playing 25 minutes a night.
He was the same thing with that was the system though. And how do I know that was the system? Because we're talking about a guy in Tony Parker who's pleading with Pop, talking about Pop. I'm 29 years old. I haven't played in 2 days. Why am I not playing more? That was the system. That's exactly what they were doing.
So you trying to create the narrative that Popovich held Tim Duncan back, and that's the reason why his all-time numbers look the way that they do on a game-to-game basis. That's the narrative you trying to push right now.
How do you explain a guy who has over 26,000 points, who for almost a decade was 18-11, 19-12, he showed you that he could be 25. I mean, the year he won the league MVP was 26-13. He showed you that I can do that. And I can't do that once in a while. I can do this.
Well, he showed you by doing it in spurts. Kobe showed you by doing it every damn time he stepped on the court, because it's just as simple as this. If Kobe isn't all-time great on this Lakers team, there is no winning for this Lakers team. Point blank, period. Tim Duncan doesn't have to be all-time great.
Oh, yes, he did.
He didn't.
He absolutely had to be
If that's
great.
the case, he would have won every single Finals MVP by the time he left. When Kobe split from Shaq, he won both of them back to back.
So we're just gonna leave out the almost quadruple double that he had in Game 6 of the NBA Finals in 2003, where he went 20, 10, and 8 blocks.
What about after that? The Spurs kept winning, and he was pedestrian.
He wasn't pedestrian in the finals.
Yes, he was. In the last,
even though Tony Parker did win the Finals MVP, but
who won the Finals MVP in the last one?
He did.
The last championship he won.
Leonard won the finals.
You know what he averaged in that finals? Not Leonard. Duncan.
Uh-huh.
He averaged like 11 points.
This is year 18, Beast. Come on now. That's not fair.
What are we saying about Jordan if he's getting carried to the finals?
In year 18,
so he played Gabricio in the finals, and they won by a record margin. Man. They beat Miami by a record margin. He played garbage in the finals. What is the narrative on a guy that gets carried in his last championship? We don't talk about that. We just say he's got 5 rings. So are we taking that championship away because he was Gabricio and he got carried by his squad because he was in his 17th season? You know what Kobe was averaging in his 17th season? Huh? Before he popped his Achilles? You know what?
He popped his Achilles in 2000. I think it was 13. He popped his Achilles. Yeah, that's year 16.
Okay. And when he came back, he was hot.
Yeah, I think he averaged 27 a game. He's one of two guys, him and Dominique Wilkins, to come back and average over 25 a game after blowing out his Achilles. But then he started to slow down. It was 22, and then he started slowing down after that. So that was an anomaly. That wasn't Kobe Bryant, who was that dude. Because remember, after he popped his Achilles, then he blew his shoulder.
Yeah,
and
his
then his
body
knee.
started to
so
fail
then he started
his
falling
fingers
apart.
Got worse.
Yeah, so then he started falling apart. So wait a minute now. We're not going to take that. We definitely not doing that. Absolutely not. But with Tim Duncan, the primary issue that I've had and I will always have is that it's a wash. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Nah, I don't think it's a wash.
That's not the case. Absolutely not. I will not entertain that. We will get into it. No doubt.
You don't have Kobe in your top 10. I have Kobe in mine, but you have Tim Duncan at like 7 or 8, right?
I got him at 8.
You got him at 8. Okay.
I got him at 8.
That's exactly where I got him, right ahead of Hakeem and Wilt. So, speaking of Hakeem and Wilt, it's another question real quick before we get into the 75 greatest players. A conversation has been had. Joel Embiid's similarity to Hakeem Olajuwon is astonishing. You know what I'm saying? They're almost identical.
Sir.
So I want to know who's your opinion. In your opinion, who's the more skilled player, Hakeem or Joel Embiid?
I definitely think it's Hakeem Olajuwon, and I think it's Hakeem simply because Hakeem is just a better athlete. So everything he does is compounded. He's better in transition. He's a better rebounder. He's a better rim protector. He's better on the box. He's better in the mid-range. He's better in every aspect in terms of him passing the basketball, in terms of him rim protecting, in terms of his ability to score on the box, in terms of his ability to score in different levels. I've seen Hakeem put the basketball on the floor at 15 to 18 feet away from the basket and take Ewing and take other big guys to the basket. And I've seen Joel do it too, but he's not the athlete that Hakeem is. He's not the ball handler in that area, in that mid-range area that Hakeem is. He's not quick off the basketball like Hakeem is. His ability to counter move. Hakeem's ability to counter move when he's playing against great defenders. Against great defenders like David Robinson, against Mutombo and guys like that. He's just incredible in terms of a skill package on both sides of the basketball, and I absolutely believe that it's Hakeem Olajuwon.
Here's my take on that. I disagree. I think it's Joel Embiid offensively, right? I think Joel Embiid is more skilled offensively than Hakeem Olajuwon. And Olajuwon was amazing. Arguably one of the most – arguably the most skilled big man I've ever seen in my life, right? The up and unders, the footwork was impeccable. Greatest footwork next to him, Kobe, Jordan, and Yao Ming is some of the greatest footwork I've ever seen in the post. But when it comes to Joel Embiid's ability to just Joel can get the ball on the rebound and go 94 feet the other way. I seen Joel Embiid take somebody off the dribble, a weak side defender steps up, and he Euro stepped them and got the lay. What 7-footer is pulling that off? Nobody. Point blank, period. Joel Embiid is good from 3, 23 feet, 22 feet, it doesn't matter. Anywhere on the court, he's good. If he needs to stretch you out and take you to the deep ends of the ocean, he can do that for you. Then he can kill you in that mid-range too. Back to the basket, fade away. He's got the mid-range 18-foot pull-up. Joel Embiid is efficient from the free throw line. He can go back to the basket over either shoulder, left or right. It doesn't matter. And Hakeem was known for his patented left to right crossover to get the big man off balance. Boom, boom. And it works every time, whether he's pulling up out of it or he's going to the basket and then he's hitting you with that fake, up and under move. That was his patented move. But Joel Embiid has such an array of move. I seen him tween, cross step, boom, step back. It's just Joel Embiid, I think, offensively is more talented, is more skillful. Not by a lot, by a little bit. But I think he's more skillful simply because his handle is better, in my opinion, and he can shoot the long ball, and Hakeem wasn't a long ball shooter.
Now, I will tell you this. I'm sorry, keep going.
Simply off the strength of that, I think Joel Embiid offensively. But defensively, Joel Embiid is no slouch, but he was definitely no Hakeem defensively. To me, that's not close. Even though Joel is a quality defender now, he's no slouch. He's a quality defender.
I think he finished third in 2018. He finished third in defensive player of the year.
Joel Embiid is a quality defender. He's just just to show you how good Hakeem was defensively. So of course Hakeem is the better player, but I think offensively Joel Embiid got him.
Wow, man, that's a tough one right there, Beast. Because I'm looking at Dream, and like I said, I'm looking at his mid-range game. I'm looking at a dude who his ability to score at that level and to drag. You talking about the big man getting dragged out? That's the way the game is being played today, and I can appreciate that. Absolutely, I can. Now, I think that Embiid, if he played in the '90s, I think that he would be even better. Because there's a lot of back-to-the-basket guys. And not only is there a lot of back-to-the-basket guys, there are a lot of bad back-to-the-basket guys. There are a lot of bad defenders. So he wouldn't have to see guys like Olajuwon and Diesel and David Robinson and Ewing. He wouldn't have to see guys like that on the regular. Right? So when we're talking about a guy like Olajuwon, he exploited that. And that expanded his game. So he was able to step out and drag those big guys who couldn't defend. Drag those big guys who were slow away from the basket, Even the big guys who are elite defenders, drag them dudes away from the basket, handle the basketball the way he does, knock down the mid-range the way he does, and get out in transition the way he does. I don't think it's a question.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with you with that. I just think Embiid has a legitimate case for supremacy in that, and I think me saying that would definitely put Embiid over a lot of guys offensively when it comes to the center position all time. Mm-hmm. That's how talented I think this kid is. But let's get into this list, right? Let me see if I can find – I might cover up the chat, but let me see if I can find his top 75 list. Unc is in the midst of making his top 75 list, and, you know, I think he's only got like 20 of them.
25.
You got 25 done?
25 done.
So
that's as far as I'm going. But the list is already official, and the people who were added, because for example, we know that the list in alphabetical order: Jabbar, Tiny Archibald, Paul Aronson, Barkley, Rick Barry, Elgin Baylor, Dave Bing, Larry Bird, Chamberlain, Cousy, Dave Cowens, Billy Cunningham, Dave DeBusschere, Drex.
Can y'all see this list? Y'all might not be able to see the chat no more, but let me know, can y'all see this list?
Ewing, Walt Frazier, Gervin, Hal Greer, Havlicek, Elvin Hayes, Magic, Sam Jones, Jordan, Jerry Lucas, Karl Malone, Moses Malone, Pistol Pete, Kevin McHale, George Mikan, Pearl Monroe, Lajuan, Shaq, Robert Parrish, Bob Pettit, Scottie Pippen, Willis Reed, Oscar Robertson, David Robertson, Bill Russell, Dolph Schayes, Bill Sharman, John Stockton, Isaiah Thomas, Nate Thurman, Wes Unseld, Bill Walton, Jerry West, Lenny Wilkins, James Worthy. That's the top 50. All right?
That's the original?
So now, that's the original top 50. So now we add 25 more, which is Duncan, Durant.
Hold on. Let's before you get into that, let's make sure everybody understands what you're doing, right? What Unc just named off was the original top 50 players of all time that was created back in the 90s. That was the original top 50 player, right?
In 1997.
So what the NBA decided to do was, instead of rearranging or taking some people off and putting new people on, they just added 25 more guys to the list to make it a total of 75. Instead of taking guys off, they took nobody off the original top 50. So those players that was on it stayed, right? So they just adding 25 more players, because I hear a lot of people debating, should they take guys off and no. Those guys were on that list for a reason, and they still on that list. They just adding 25 more. Okay, so now name the additional 25 that they decided to put on there.
So the additional 25 that they decided to put on in order: Duncan, Durant, Harden, Garnett, AI, Steve Nash, Dirk, CP3, Dwayne Wade, Giannis, Dennis Rodman, Ray Allen, Jason Kidd, Gary Payton, Dominique Wilkins, Paul Pierce, Steph Curry, Kawhi Leonard, Dame Lillard, LBJ, Carmelo Anthony, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, and Reggie Miller.
I think I'm not mad at it, to be honest with you. After sitting down, thinking about who deserves to be on it, who doesn't deserve to be on it, I'm not mad at this list as I'm looking at it on the screen. I am the 25 players that they added, all are deservingly so. My biggest thing was them adding Reggie Miller. Like, I'm like, okay, you added Reggie Miller. To me, I think Reggie Miller is one of those guys that played in the era that didn't suit his game. If Reggie played today, he would be a whole hell of a better player if he was drafted in, let's say,
he'd be a better version of Klay Thompson.
Right.
That's who he'd be.
Exactly. He'd be a better version of Klay. You know, if Reggie played in today's game, he would be great. But Dame Lillard made it, and the conversation has been Kyrie Irving, Dame Lillard. I was on the fence about it when I first saw it. Off instinct, I'm like, man, Kyrie should have made it over Dame. You know, that was my opinion immediately after I saw it. Then after further deliberation, and I sit back and I think about it. On what aspect, though? Yeah, Kyrie may be more offensively skilled than Dame, I believe. Because
more efficient, too.
Both of them defensively is Gabricio, right? Dame is more garbage defensively than Kyrie. Kyrie's a way better defender than Dame, and Kyrie ain't no defender by any stretch.
At least there's an effort there. He'll put
Dame
some
might
effort.
be the worst defender in the league as a superstar. You know,
Irv will put some effort in there. Dame is you can just blow his doors.
man, like he's atrocious defensively. But even with that being said, what Dame has done in his career as a number one option is something that should be appreciated. Dragging that team to the playoffs even after losing 4 of your top 5 starters. You know, it was the year coming right after that. He loses 4 of his 5 starting 5. The only person that remained was himself. So he had new teammates to get acclimated to. He still took that team to the playoffs, did some damage. Even though we criticized Dame's playoff performances outside of the last few seasons, I think Kyrie, and over the course of his career with the LeBron James and what he's done in the playoffs, taking Boston to the semis, the whole what have you, I think he might have, or not might, but he does have better playoff credentials than Dame Lillard. But we could also argue that he's had more help than Dame Lillard. So from that aspect, if you look at the numbers statistically throughout the regular seasons, Dame's averaged 30. Kyrie never came close to that. Dame has been pretty consistent when it comes to rebounds and points. Assists and points. I mean, it's just bar none. He's been more healthy than Kyrie Irving. So when you take all of that into factor, I come to the realization that Damian Lillard not only deserves to be on this list, but he deserves to be on this list even if it's at the expense of a Kyrie Irving.
I can't fight that. And not only can I not fight that, you know how I am, Beast, that I take being an all-pro, I take being an all-league defender, and I take league MVPs. I take that stuff, as you know, I take that stuff very, very seriously, right? So when I think about Kyrie Irving, being a 3-time All-NBA performer, all right, I take Kyrie Irving being a 7-time All-Star. Oh, I can absolutely get with that. Meanwhile, I got Dame Lillard, who's a 6-time All-NBA performer. And I hear people a lot of times say to me, yo, take the numbers out, take the accolades out. Well, the reason why you want me to take the accolades out, the reason why you want me to take the numbers out,
because they don't
favor
your argument.
they don't favor your guy.
Right.
That's why you want me to take them out.
I hate when people say that.
You just want to go with the eye test, right? So, because I'm certain, Beast, you and I have had this conversation. If Jerry West was 7-1 in the NBA Finals and he had 5 league MVPs, I am certain the first thing that you guys would bring up is Jerry West being what he was. I'm sure if LeBron in the 10 finals that he went to, if he was 9-1, what's the first thing that you dudes would bring up? Because I know the first thing that I would bring up if he was 9-1. I can tell you that right now. What's the first thing? What's the first thing that y'all dudes bring up when y'all talking about Jordan? What's the first thing I hear out of your mouth? That's the first thing that I hear. So whenever I hear people saying stuff like that, I automatically think these numbers don't favor your guys. So when I think about Dame Lillard being a 6-time All-NBA performer, Kyrie Irving, 0 first-team nods. Dame Lillard actually made first-team All-NBA. For Dame Lillard to take that team, right, not only to the playoffs, to take that team to the Western Conference Finals. I mean, he ran into a buzzsaw in the Warriors, no question about that. But to take that team as the guy to the Western Conference Finals, not only that, for him to knock 2 teams, not 1 team, to prove it wasn't a fluke, to knock 2 teams out of the playoffs with a buzzer beater. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
How big of a deal this dude is in the playoffs. So I wasn't sure initially if Dame Lillard was to be on the team, but then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, wait a minute. My initial response is, can you tell, when this list came out, can you tell the story of the 75-year history of the NBA without without this dude, without that dude? I don't know if you could tell the 75-year history of the NBA without talking about Damian Lillard. I don't know if you could tell it without talking about Kyrie Irving neither.
That's what I'm saying.
But I'm certain that you can't talk about it without talking about Damian Lillard. I'm sure of that.
Well, I mean, I agree with a lot of what you said. You know, towards the end, I disagree with a little bit of it, but fair is fair. And just from looking at this list, I'm really not mad at it, considering we shouldn't be thinking about taking somebody off of the list. That's the biggest ordeal, right? People are in the business of trying to take people off the list because they, A, didn't see them play, or B, they don't know who the hell they are, or C, the numbers don't add up. Like a guy like me would say Walton, Bill Walton. You know, right. I'm not the biggest Walton fan. You know, I think he's a bit overrated. But he does have some credentials. Even though he didn't hold up, he was in some good situations. He took the Blazers and did what he did with the Blazers. I still think he's overrated. MVP after only playing 50 games, 40, whatever the hell, however many, games it was. But cocaine era, again, reigns supreme. You know what I'm saying?
The middle of it, by the way. Right in the middle of it.
Right in the middle of it. Reigns supreme. A lot of shit happened during that era that wasn't supposed to happen.
That's correct.
But, I'm looking at this list now. I really got no issues. Giannis, what's the biggest surprise to you on this list? Who's the biggest surprise on this list? As I'm looking at this list, who do you think's the biggest surprise?
The biggest surprise to me was nobody, actually.
Nobody?
With Reggie Miller. I was surprised Reggie Miller got on. Because when I think about the guys who got snubbed, all right? I got a list of guys who got snubbed.
Hold on. Let me name off my list of guys. I got a list of guys. Let me name off my list of guys, and I want you to tell me, should they have made it? Not at the expense of somebody, but just in general. Let's say we had 100 options. Kyrie, should he have made it? 75. Should he? What you think? Yes or no? No? What about Vince Carter?
Yes.
You think Vince Carter should have made it?
Played in 4 different decades. Can't nobody in the history of the game say that they done that. Just off that alone.
True. What about Dwight Howard?
Yes, absolutely. Dwight Howard is probably, with the exception of some other guys that I got, he's at the top of the list of my biggest snubs. No doubt about it.
What about Chris Bosh?
No.
What about Tony Parker?
No.
Manu Ginobili?
Mm-mm. No. Mm-mm.
Clay?
Clay is tough, man.
Clay is pissed.
It's hard to keep Clay off that team.
Clay mad than a motherfucker right now.
Yeah, but when I think about Clay, I think about the downside is, Clay, were you ever you were the second or third option on great teams. So does that make you one of the top 75 teams? And then I can flip that by saying, well, wait a minute.
Worthy's on the list.
Right. And then I can say that, Bill Bradley was never the best player. He wasn't the best player on the Knicks. Neither was Dave DeBusschere. Yeah. He was not the best player on the Knicks. So, I can make that argument. So that's a tough one to keep Clay off that list. That's a real tough.
Was a second option for a few years. Scottie Pippen is on this list as a second option.
That's correct. That is correct. So,
Walt Frazier, was he a number one?
No. Willis Reed was the guy.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was Willis Reed.
That's why I was going to say which one you was going to go. Was it Willis Reed or Walt Frazier?
Right.
I'm looking at Robert Parrish. He's on this list. So, he wasn't a number one. I mean,
or number two neither.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm looking at it, and it's a lot of guys that's on this list. That Bill Sharman. It's a lot of guys on this list that were number twos majority of their career. So, you really can't look at that and say Sam Jones, another one. You can't look at that and say, hey.
Sam Jones was the number 3.
That's what I'm saying. You can't look at that and say, hey,
he might have been number 4.
That's how deep that squad was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was Russ. It was Cousy. It was Havlicek, and then Sam Jones.
Yeah, KC Jones, all of that. Sharman, all of them.
Sam Jones. So, but probably the one guy that I think about of all the guys, not just on this list, but the one guy that I think who got snubbed the most is Alex English.
Oh,
in my opinion, he's the one guy that I can't believe that. Like, what goes into this process to leave him off this list?
He's the most underrated player in NBA history.
Beast, we talking about a dude.
Oh my goodness!
Who from 1980? Not only did he not make the top 50 list, right? He ain't on the top 75 list neither. We talking about a dude.
Adrian Dantley, that's a good one.
That's another one too. Adrian Dantley. Alex English and Adrian Dantley are my two guys who are the biggest snubs. We talking about a dude.
Dwight Howard too. You got to throw him in there.
We talking about a dude in Alex English who from 1980 to 1989 had 8, these, count them, 8 2,000-point seasons.
Yes.
Nobody else can say that.
26,000 points for his career.
Nobody else can say that. We talking about a dude in Adrian Dantley. Beast, he went 7 years. He was 30-6.
I think Adrian Dantley averaged 20-plus points per game for his career.
Who? So let me ask you this question, and because I like to correlate with today. We got a guy in the league that's running around that's 6 years at 30-6. Who is that, Beast? Who is that today?
The best player in the world.
We talking about a dude that's in the league. He's 30-6. We like, what the hell going on in the NBA?
Yeah.
We got a dude running around. And by the way, this dude is 30-6. He ain't that much bigger than me. Adrian Dantley was not that, and he played on the box, by the way.
Dog. Adrian Dantley was a dog. Alex English was a dog. Two of the most slept on guys in NBA history. The disrespect now, for the era that English played in, I think he should have been a top 50 player when they announced the shit. You know what I'm saying? I think he should have.
Dominique Wilkins, Jordan, Bird.
I think he should have been a top 50 player when they first announced the shit.
King, all of these dudes running around, and I'm giving a last one of them.
Like, come on.
Work.
You got fourth and fifth options on this list. Bill Sharman and Casey Jones and Sam Jones and damn them. Alex English is better than all of them. Facts. If you're going to have somebody from that squad, Bill Russell, Bob Cousy, that's it. Adrian Dantley should have been on this list at the expense of both of them cats. Dwight Howard has 19,000 points and 15,000 rebounds. That man is a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. It ain't and there's no centers from the 2010s on this list. None.
Let me ask. So how about this? Let's take it a step further with Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard, by the end of this season, he'll be part of the 20,000 point, 10,000 rebound club. Chamberlain, Jabbar, Tim Duncan, Garnett, Elvin Hayes,
Shaq,
Barkley, Carmelo, Shaq.
Dirk.
It's only 10 guys. Dirk is not. Dirk ain't on that list.
Yes, he is. Dirk has 10,000 rebounds. We not about to do that to my man.
Are we sure? Are we 100%?
We're not about to do Dirk like this. Hold on. Hold it. I got to go to the magic wand.
Maybe we do. But I know for a fact that we got 10 guys, right? And of those 10 guys, right, Dwight Howard is about to be a part. It's only in the 75-year history, we only have 10. In fact, and Dwight Howard's going to be 11 that are a part of the
Dirk has 11,000 rebounds and 30,000 points. So we're not about to do Dirk like that.
Okay, so Dirk. So I let Dirk off. My fault.
Yeah.
So we got so Howard is going to be number 12. So in the 75-year history of the NBA, we got only 12 guys that are a member of the 20,000 point, 10,000 rebound club. Are you kidding me? Only 12 guys in the history of the NBA done that.
And it's crazy. Nobody from the 2010s, no center from the 2010s made this list. I guess they trying to say 11 years. Ain't that much. But even if you go back to 05, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many centers played through that decade that's on this list? You got Tim Duncan. Mm-hmm. He's not a center, but
I mean, he played 9. He played the center spot for what, 9 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, he played the center.
So
he played the center spot for 9 years.
You could classify him as that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think Dwight Howard should have been here. Now, I'm not saying at the expense of all the guys you named that got in, the 25 guys that they put in, you know, and I'm not trying to take somebody off the list that was already on the list unless they played in that era or got taken around that time. Like Alex English, I wouldn't put Alex English in today at the expense of the 25 people that they added, right? Alex English should have been on there. He should have been in the top 50. You see what I'm saying? Like, absolutely. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely,
it's as I look at this list, I can't see anybody that I would put Dwight Howard in at the expense of, but I do think he should have been on this list somewhere. Damn, make 70, make 80, top 80.
Anthony Davis might have to come off that list at the expense of Dwight Howard.
Anthony Davis made it.
I told you that. Yeah, Anthony Davis might have to come off that list at the expense of Dwight.
If Anthony Davis is on this list, that's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Let me look at Anthony Davis' career numbers real quick.
Let's just put it like this. Anthony Davis, he's an 8-time. I think he's an 8-time All-League defender. The 8-time All-League defender like Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard smokes him in everything else, though. And that's because Dwight Howard been in the league longer. So you know how I feel about longevity. Absolutely. You know how I feel about that. So
on a per game basis, of course, Anthony Davis got him. He's a more skilled basketball player. Defensively, it's close, but Dwight Howard has the edge to me, in my opinion. The 3 DPOYs stand strong in that department. Dwight Howard's a better rebounder.
Led the league in blocks.
Yeah.
Led the league in blocks. Led the league in rebounds more times. Absolutely. No doubt about it.
It's a close argument, but I could see why they took Anthony Davis over a Dwight Howard. It's crazy to even look at it. 4 guys that's on this Lakers team made this top 75. Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Carmelo Anthony is all top 75 players of all time, according to the NBA. So, that's crazy. Right. No Penny Hardaway. I could understand that, because people hung up on the guys that didn't make it, that were like all-time great names, but they didn't have sustainable careers, like due to injury, like Derrick Rose. People say D Rose should have made it. No. Even though that MVP holds a lot of weight, Derrick Rose shouldn't have made it. Grant Hill, no. Tracy McGrady, no. Somebody said Penny Hardaway, no. Reggie Miller played 19 seasons. You know what I'm saying? He had a long, sustainable career, even though I think Reggie might have been a bit overrated and he was ahead of his time. I think he would have been way better than what he was in a different era. But he did take that team to the finals, so you can't knock what this man did in his league. And I don't know. I think they got it right for the 25 players that they decided. It's always going to be some pushback no matter which way you decide to go with the notion. But you made a top – what you did, 25?
I only did 25.
And you put them in order, right?
I did put them in order.
Let me hear your 25.
My top 25 as of today.
If you were adding 25 to the 50.
I'm adding to the list.
So they added their 25. Now let me hear your 25 you adding to the list.
James, Jordan, Jabbar, Chamberlain, Russell, Magic, Bird, Duncan, Olajuwon, Diesel, Kobe, Jerry West, Oscar Robertson, Moses Malone, Steph Curry, Karl Malone, Doc, Kevin Durant, Kevin Garnett, Havlicek, Barkley, Dirk, Elgin Baylor, Allen Iverson, Isaiah Thomas.
Oh, so you got Allen Iverson in your top 25.
I got Dirk in my top 25. I got Allen Iverson
you put
in my
Wade
top
in there?
25. I got Kevin Durant in my top 25.
I don't think you put D Wade in there.
And I got Steph Curry in my top 25.
No D Wade.
That's what I have. D Wade, no, I don't have him in my top.
So 25. What current players do you got in there? Let me look.
Kevin Durant, I got him in my top 25, and I got Steph Curry in my top 25.
So you put Steph.
And I got Kevin Durant in my top 25. And I was having some trouble with Kevin Durant because I was thinking to myself, was he better than KG? And I had to go back and I had to do some homework, and he definitely had a better peak than KG. Even though KG was a dog.
Kevin Durant?
Yeah,
I'm taking Kevin Durant over KG.
Even though KG was a dog, Kevin Durant had a better peak. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I would definitely. I'm not mad at that. I'm definitely not mad at that take.
He had a better peak. Yeah, no doubt.
I'm not mad at that take, but I love it, man. Let's do some questions from the fans so we can get on up out of here. We've been holding y'all up.
Get rid of this.
Yeah,
list.
That's what I'm about to do. So let's do some questions from the fans. Rain them in, round them on up, so we can get y'all. So we can get on up out of here. The disrespect to D Wade, yeah, Dirk is underrated. Who would you take off the list? I told y'all that. All them Boston cats that's on that list. Casey Jones, the Bill Sharman, whoever's on that list that ain't Bob Cousy and Bill Russell, I'm taking off.
I mean, the Lakers got 4 active guys. They don't have 4 all-time guys. They got 4 active guys.
I'm not mad at that.
These guys are in the NBA right now.
Right, I'm not mad at that. Carmelo Anthony.
They're in the NBA right now.
I don't know how the heck Kyrie wasn't up there. Yeah, it's tough, Ben. It's tough. Who was the finals pick this year? It's early, but early finals predictions. I still got the East is so tough. But I got the Nets taking the East, and I got
I still got Milwaukee.
You still got Milwaukee? I got the Nets in the East, and I got Lakers in the West. What's y'all opinion on people discrediting LeBron's 2007 run because he was supposedly weak competition to get there? I think it's facts. I don't think it's a discredit to LeBron James. He had a great regular season that year. The first round of the playoffs, I believe they saw a below 500 Washington Wizards team without their best player in Gilbert Arenas.
Which ain't my fault. By the way.
This is why people call it overrated. Let me break it down. Without Gilbert Arenas in the first round, their team was led by Antoine Jameson, if anybody knows who the hell that is. Second round, they saw a
Caron Butler was on that team too, by the way.
Yeah, Antoine Jameson was the guy though.
Yes, he was.
In the second round, they saw a Nets team, New Jersey Nets, I could finally say it, that was 500. That was the Vince Carter, Jason Kidd. He beat them. Then in the third round, when he so-called took down the second bad boy Pistons, right? They were without their defensive anchor and Ben Wallace, and he ended up beating them.
Chicago.
And that is why it's considered one of the most overrated runs in NBA history, simply because not only was the East weak, but he dominated that Eastern Conference also while being fortunate enough to go through their best players being injured. So I mean, at the beginning, when you're fortunate enough to play two teams that were 500 in the first two rounds of the playoffs, that should tell you everything you need to know about the East.
That's fair. Even though they weren't picked to win the East that year, and it worked out the way it worked out.
Injury happened. Who's to say that's not a different series if Gilbert Arenas doesn't play, who was averaging 27 a night that year?
He was. Absolutely he was. So
Bulls dominating the Pelicans. That's what I like to see. Start, bench, cut. Thomas, Kyrie, AI. Isaiah Thomas, Kyrie, AI. I'm assuming he's talking about Zeke. Who you got?
That's simple. You're starting Isaiah, benching Allen Iverson, and we cutting Kyrie.
Starting. Yeah, give me Kyrie. I'm gonna start Zeke. I'm gonna cut AI, and I'm gonna start Zeke, cut AI, bench Kyrie. But yeah, that's it, man. I appreciate everybody coming out. All of you guys, I hope you guys had a great time and you enjoyed the show. We do this every Tuesday night, every Friday night, 8 p.m. Central Time. This is the Sports Behavior Podcast, and we love y'all. Thank y'all for coming in. Take us home.
Take it light, but take it.
Yes, sir. We out.